Conditional sentences. What is a conditional sentence? Conditional sentences are statements discussing known factors or hypothetical situations and their consequences. Complete conditional sentence contain a conditional clause, often referred to as the if clause, and the consequence. Conditional sentence can be used before the main clause or after the main clause. Examples of conditional sentences. There are several structures in English that we call conditionals or if conditionals. The word condition means situation or circumstance. If a particular condition is true, then a particular result happens. Examples: I would travel around the world if I won the lottery. Second, when water reaches 100 degrees, it boils. Third, if I had won the lottery, I would have bought a car. Types of conditional statements. There are 4 different types of conditional sentences in English. Each expresses a different degree of probability that a situation will occur or would have occurred under certain circumstances. 0 conditional sentences. First conditional sentences. Second conditional sentences. Third conditional sentences. Let's look at each of these different types of conditional sentences in more detail. How to use 0 conditional sentences. 0 conditional sentences express general truths, situations in which one thing always causes another. Examples: if you don't brush your teeth, you get cavities. Second, when people smoke cigarettes, their health suffers. Zero conditional sentence, common mistakes made. First, when using the zero conditional, the correct tense to use in both clauses is the simple present tense. A common mistake is to use the simple future tense. Incorrect sentence: when people smoke cigarettes, their health will suffer. Correct sentence: when people smoke cigarettes, their health suffers. Secondly, notice that the words if and when can be used interchangeably in these zero conditional sentences. This is because the outcome will always be the same, so it doesn't matter if or when it happens. How to use first conditional sentences. First conditional sentences are used to express situations in which the outcome is likely but not guaranteed to happen in the future. Examples: if you rest, you will feel better. Second example: if you set your mind to a goal, you will eventually achieve it. First conditional sentence, common mistakes made. Note that we use the simple present tense in the if clause and simple future tense in the main clause. That is, the clause that expresses the likely outcome. Let us examine some of the common mistakes. Incorrect: if you set your mind to a goal, you eventually achieve it. Correct sentence: if you set your mind to a goal, you'll eventually achieve it. Use the zero conditional, for example, simple present plus simple present, only when a certain result is guaranteed. If the result is likely, use the first conditional, for example, simple present plus simple future. How to use second conditional sentences. Second conditional sentences are useful for expressing outcomes that are completely unrealistic or will not likely happen in the future. Examples: if I inherited $1 billion, I would travel to the moon. Second example: if I owned a zoo, I might let people interact with the animals more. Second conditional sentence: common mistakes made. Notice the correct way to structure second conditional sentences is to use a simple past tense in the if clause and an auxiliary modal verb. For example, could, should, would, might in the main clause, the one that expresses the unrealistic or unlikely outcome. Let us examine some of the common mistakes. Incorrect. If I inherit $1 billion, I would travel to the moon. Correct. If I inherited $1 billion, I would travel to the moon. When applying the second conditional, use the simple past tense in the if clause. Second example: if I owned a zoo, I will let people interact with the animals more. It is incorrect. The correct sentence would be, if I owned a zoo, I might let people interact with the animals more. Use a modal auxiliary verb in the main clause when using the second conditional mood to express the unlikelihood that the result will actually happen. How to use third conditional sentences. Third conditional sentences are used to explain that present circumstances would be different if something different had happened in the past. Examples: if you had told me you needed a ride, I would have left earlier. Second example: if I had cleaned the house, I could have gone to the movies. Third conditional sentence: common mistakes made. Note that when using the third conditional, we use the past perfect, that is, had plus past participle form in the if clause, and the modal auxiliary would, could, should, etc. plus have plus past participle in the main clause. Let us examine some of the common mistakes. Incorrect sentence: if you would have told me you needed a ride, I would have left earlier. Correct sentence: if you had told me you needed a ride, I would have left earlier. With third conditional sentences, do not use a modal auxiliary verb in the if clause. Let us see the second example. Incorrect sentence: if I had cleaned the house, I could go to the movies. Correct sentence: if I had cleaned the house, I could have gone to the movies. The third conditional mood expresses a situation that could have only happened in the past if a certain condition had been met. That's why we use a modal auxiliary verb plus have plus the past participle. Let us summarize. There are 4 types of conditional sentences. Zero conditional statement, first conditional sentence, second conditional sentence, and third conditional sentence. Usage. For zero conditional sentence, real condition plus inevitable result. In the if clause and in the main clause, we use simple present tense. First conditional sentence, the usage possible condition plus probable result. We use simple present tense, and in the main clause we use will plus base verb. Second conditional sentence, hypothetical condition plus possible result. In the if clause we use past, simple past tense, and in the main clause we use would plus base verb. Third conditional sentence, usage expired past condition plus possible past result. In the if clause we use past perfect tense. In the main clause we use would have plus past participle form. Thank you.